One whole year. That is just truly so exciting. I still can't believe we are here. Not that I never thought we will be, because I was convinced for somehow that this was something that I really was meant to do. But you know how fears take over, and I wouldn't deny. I was scared that maybe I wouldn't even reach here, maybe I would quit before I. But I'm so glad we did this, and I'm sure that we'll have so many more beautiful years together. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast with your host, Charuka. One whole year. Yeah, it's been that long. We relaunched Arts to Hearts in January 2021. We launched the podcast in March 2021, and we're sitting on 30th of December. I'm recording this just before releasing this episode. So yeah, it's just amazing because I had always wanted to start a podcast, but I was just too scared for most of the time. I didn't know what I wanted to do, what would I even talk about, who am I even to talk about something like. I know these fears are very common. I had them, I still have them, and a lot of times when I'm taking my next leap, and I know a lot of people who have the same fear. But I'm glad that I took that step. I took that leap of faith and I trusted my intuition and I went ahead with it. 1 year later, I am here with 59 episodes. Yes, 59 episodes on the Arts to Hearts podcast. It's been truly remarkable. I was just looking back at everything that we've done this year at Arts to Hearts. 2021 has been incredibly painful and hard for me, and you know why. But even then, I was just looking. I spent talking to over 100 artists via the podcast, the studio visits, personally. We've hosted so many Zoom openings, hosted more than, I don't know, maybe 200, 300 artists on our platform via the virtual shows. We've had over thousands of um, people reaching out to us with more opportunities. We've showcased so many new work on our platform. If you don't know, we're doing like this run roundup of everything we've done at Arts to Arts on Instagram, and it makes me so nostalgic. I mean, I'm just looking back all the videos. I was looking back my studio visits. I was looking back at our Zoom meetings, our virtual shows, and so many times we think that we're not doing enough. But when you look at things in hindsight, you realize that you've done so much more, so much more. When I started to think about the podcast, I didn't know if I would be able to make it. If I were, will I be able to survive it? Will it be something that I will enjoy? But then I told myself that I will give myself 2 years and put my heart into it for the 2 years and see how it feels. I let me ride through the highs and the lows, and I'll see when I get there. And I'm already one whole year into this, and honestly, I wouldn't say it felt easy all the time. Especially when I was having a very hard time, I know how I used to pull myself back together and come on the podcast, or even our studio visits, interviews, all of those things. But once I would actually come and sit on my chair, record a podcast, or even show up for a studio visit, I knew the only hard part was getting through that fear. And then once I was there, it always felt so good. It always felt so good to learn from someone else, to pour my heart into something and to not be afraid. Because why Arts to Hearts, a lot of people ask me, and I thought I will share this thought in this episode today. So in 2019, I was going through a very miserable time. I didn't know how I would, pursue this dream of getting where I wanted to be as a creative. Especially navigating the art world was getting so hard. I wasn't able to find people that I could truly relate to, I could share my dreams with, you know, grow together with. And Luckily, I found some amazing people online and they became acquaintances, then friends, and today they are just my closest people. I was alone and I would endlessly spend hours on podcasts, listening to books, meeting people online. And eventually I realized that how much of a service these people were doing because they were putting themselves out there. They were facing those fears, and it not only benefited them, but I know how much did it benefit me if it were not for these people who would take that leap of faith, share their knowledge, make an effort to bring more people some visibility opportunities. I don't think I would have been here. And that only led me to the thought that I wanted to make sure that I also do something that helps me, but also other people. Today, via Arts to Hearts podcast only alone, we have 59 episodes. Believe me, that's a lot of work. It does not seem on the outside the effort it goes into producing a podcast, but believe me, it's been so much work. In these 59 episodes, we've hosted over 31 artists or creative entrepreneurs in the arts, which is like a lot of people. I still can't believe that I have spoken to these people and have shared some time with them in this year. They've given so much about themselves to me and to this podcast and to our community, to each one of you. We've also created resources via this podcast itself. Yes, we've had learning episodes where we've had expert takeovers. Like, we had Lizzie in episode 15. She talked about how to prepare for an artist residency. We had Victoria, who talked about art licensing in episode number 16. We also had Kat, who was just amazing, and she talked about how to release your fear in episode 17. We've had how to promote your creative business, classroom learning, how to start a creative business, how to grow your social media, all these things. And I'm going to list all these episodes so that if you want to brush up on any topic, you can go finding them in the show notes. Apart from that, I have personally really poured myself into this podcast. Like, my very first episode on the podcast was about taking charge, overcoming fears, and painting your own golden ticket. Honestly, it's still one of my favorite episodes. This is episode number 1. Then I did another episode which was about mothering creativity with love and kindness, which is episode number 8. The last episode that we did, again, it's very close to my heart. I really shared something which was very personal but very empowering, and I knew that I had to share this story with all of you, which was how to prepare for your biggest fly ever of 2022. This is episode 58, and if you haven't heard this episode yet, believe me, you wouldn't want to miss this. It's on all platforms where you listen your podcast, and you can hear it just after you've finished this one. Apart from that, I have done, the main theme I feel like with my own solo episodes throughout the year was about, getting over fears, getting over our limited beliefs, and how can we take things back in control. If someone was to ask me, actually that's been something that I worked so much personally throughout the year, and I shared so much of that journey here on this podcast. I have talked about how I was getting overwhelmed and how I learned to control that, how I tried to overcome my fears in a like living a creative life, talking about creative blocks in episode 52. Oh my god, that's been that's been such a big year. I can't even put in words what I feel, because when you're doing something, you don't realize what it's going to add up into. One step individually, you're always seeing things in the moment and how they're just there. But when you see them come together, one little block every day, when you see them after a month, after a year, they become something so massive and something that you're so proud of. And I feel that way today because at that point, honestly, I was just trying to get through one episode at a time, one thought at a time, one baby step at a time. And believe me, I've been very slow. I feel like this year I haven't been very like my best self, but I have just made sure when even it was hard to walk, I would just put one step forward. And that's all that mattered to me at that point. For me, who was so scared to fall with everything that was happening, I only focused on putting one feet ahead of the other. And today, when I started feeling myself back again, I feel like how many miles have I actually walked with those fumble feet. And I'm actually very proud of that. But of course, I didn't do this alone. I knew that when I was coming to this podcast, there were people who were already waiting. There were people who would hear what I have to say. I truly wouldn't have been able to do this without all of you, without this community, with the support we've received. We've received so many amazing reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on our website, the messages that I've received throughout the year, the support I've received throughout the year. I don't think nothing like anything matters more than the support and the love that you receive for the work that you do. For sure, this was not possible without you, and also not possible without our amazing guest, because I feel like I would only always have so much to share, and I would only be able to give you this side of the coin. But I wanted to make sure I also learn in this process, and we all learn this together. And this wouldn't have been possible without these 31 amazing women who came on the podcast, who shared their journey, their learnings, their experiences, their expertise, so much more with these artist interviews, with those amazing experts that we've had who've literally shared their knowledge on this platform. It's it's a big deal for me. Believe me, it's truly a big deal for me. And from here, honestly, I want to deeply, passionately keep doing the work that I've been doing because nothing makes me more happy, nothing inspires me more than these amazing women who are just doing so amazing work for all of us, who are paving paths for themselves and making sure that others also move forward with them. It's truly such a pleasure to have all of you. And you know what? Now I feel that we all, with this journey, are together for our next step. And I haven't really spoken about this before, but I've been thinking about the idea of, you know, building the Arts to Hearts Club, which is like a membership. And I will be talking more about it eventually in the next few weeks. But, I have always imagined a way more transparent, uplifting community. And I know this has been such a good beginning, but we still all have a long, long way to go. And I will keep you updated. But if you're interested, you can always reach out to me. I am looking for the founding members of the ATH Club, which will be something that we're going to do together. If you've been a regular listener, if you believe in the vision that we have, the work that we've done, and you want to come together with us, we are looking for our founding members of the ATH Club, which is with whom, let's say, a set of 5, 10 artists, we will curate the whole ATH Club programming with the podcast, with the platform, the opportunities we can give them, the whole membership. And I really want to do this with some of you. I know I have so many amazing listeners who are as passionate as I am, and I definitely don't want to lose out on to them. So, yes, that's the plan. If you're interested, reach out to me on Instagram, send me an email on info@arts2heartsproject.com, and we'll share a form with you. We will be opening applications for the founding members, and eventually, I hope we will be able to form a small, tiny, intimate group of the founding members for the ATH Club, with the help of whom we will be able to build this community to something bigger and better and heartier and just so much more. Okay, that's it for that. I want to get into this episode where we've really put together a few clips from everything that's happened this year, some amazing guests. You know how I love my rapid fires. They are my fuel to the soul. Honestly, it's it's one of the most fun part I love to do on the podcast. So what I did is um, we had asked our artists what would they advise their younger self. And they were such inspiring answers that it wouldn't be fair if we wouldn't had, rounded them up for you. So after this, you will listen to a compilation of all the beautiful answers to help you lift up before you enter into this new year. And here we go. If you were to meet the younger Celine today, what advice would you give her?
I would tell her, just keep being your little weirdo self. Like, keep going. It's okay, because, again, we were talking about that self-doubt, and I didn't fit in at all. I mean, I had friends and everything, don't get me wrong, I was okay, but in particular, like in elementary school, before I was 10,
Yeah.
the cool girls were like I've always had hair that was kind of around here. They would have the long hair, the long ponytail. They would be
Yeah.
athletic and top in all the sports, and they would get straight A's. And I was like, I was none of those things. I had weird haircuts and
Yeah.
funky clothes, and I was like a C student. So except in art,
With you on
I would
that.
get A's in art,
Same
and
here.
everything
Oh my
else was a
goodness.
struggle. Anyway, but
Oh my
I had
God.
yeah, I had a
100%.
lot of, I wanted to fit in, but I wanted to be myself. And so I really struggled with that. And so
Yeah.
looking back, I would just say, don't worry about fitting in. Just keep being yourself, because you're allowed to do that. So yeah.
If you were to meet younger Erica today, what advice would you give her?
If I met younger artists today, or Erica today, I would say keep working hard, but relax a little. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. I was so hard on myself. Sometimes I still am, but like, just relax a little bit, make the work, do the work. You love doing the work. Don't judge yourself as you're doing the work, less judgment, less self criticism. Yeah, I think that's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, that's such a valuable advice. I think I would take that advice for now also.
Right? Because I feel like what the self-criticism and self-judgment did was stop me from doing the things that I wanted to do. And if I would have been doing them when I was younger, who knows, so.
Yeah, and I think especially, and I think I am assuming you fall in the same category as I do, as I think, because we do all, like me, Kat, we all have a very similar traits, and we have this perfectionist thing that we want to keep. We get obsessed with what we're doing, and we want to do it in the best way possible, and sometimes it gets over our heads and we become too harsh, and it becomes so hard to even appreciate of where we are, and it's always about taking that next step, taking the next leap, and it's so hard to appreciate where we've reached. And it's such a valuable advice, because it's easier said than done, because most of the time we forget that where we were maybe a couple of years ago. What seemed, for me, I feel like I said I wanted to start the podcast, and it took me a long while, and then one day I was like, I don't care whatever whoever thinks, and whatever definition I can break, I'm going to do this because I want to do this. And I'm so grateful, because I took that leap of faith. Otherwise, I would have been sitting in the studio corner and very sad about it.
What you're saying is so true right there. It's taking that leap, and I took the leap, we all have to leap to do the things that are uncomfortable. And then once you start doing it, it leads to future leaps. And that's such a wonderful thing, because that's how you start to figure out what works for you. And when we have the judgment, criticism, definitely stops any leaping from happening, which stops growth, and it stops you from being the person that you're born to be, and fulfilling the things that are important to you. So, yeah, if there's anybody listening who has those judgmental feelings or criticism, I totally understand. It sounds like you do too. And we just have to learn how to do that self-talk where it's like, this is not going to serve me. That is not going to let me be the person that I'm doing. That's not the truth, and then just putting your head down and just doing what you need to do to be the person you want to be, and do the things you want to try.
If you were to meet younger Erica today, what advice would you give her?
I would probably, it sounds cheesy, but I would just say, everything you have is within you, and you have to like believe in yourself. And it's also about letting go, like letting go with not just your artwork, but letting go of like what people think, and just letting go of like relationships that don't matter, and I don't mean relationships like, oh, I don't need to talk to you, but just kind of letting go that negativity, letting go where people don't understand. I think that one of the biggest game changers for me when I was young was realizing that there are people that are never, ever, ever going to understand what you do. And that's 100% okay. That doesn't mean you love them any less. It just means they just don't get it. And that's okay. And I think once I really changed that, then I was able to be more free.
Yeah, I love that advice actually. It's not only to yourself. I think a lot of us, all of us would take that advice for sure.
If you were to meet younger Laura today,
Yes.
what advice would you give her?
Now this is this is an emotional one for me. My gosh, little Laura. Little Laura always knew she was meant for more. That, there was always this reassurance, even though I felt so other than so many people, there was always this like, I'm meant for more. And I would just say, spend some time really figuring out exactly how it is to feel in your body and in your mind, and to just be okay with that. If you feel that otherness, it's not a big deal. That otherness felt like such a big deal to me when I was growing up, because I was, not into the same things, or I didn't have the same energy, or I felt so different. And to me, that otherness and the fact that I've dealt with all that stuff in my life, it's actually a real gift. Like that is exactly now at 36, what makes me me. So not to be afraid of being other. Like that's just, you are who you are, and embrace it.
Yeah, that's such a good thought. Absolutely. I do feel the same way because, there's another, I think I read this somewhere, which was, it's not, a lot of times people try to, elevate the pain, how our pain has shaped us, or has evolved us, or like all of those things. But honestly, it's our courage. It's our courage that's literally made us who we are. And let's not only talk about the pain, but let's also celebrate our courage, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy to go through, to get out of these situations. Like it takes a lot of courage, and then it shapes who you are every time.
Yeah, courage is a big word for me. I actually tattooed "Courage, Dear Heart" on my forearm in the midst of my illness. So I see it every day. It says "Courage, Dear Heart." And I think, with courage, you can get through any of it. You really can.
See, I got the right word for you.
You did. You picked it. It's all with me forever. It's always there.
Yeah, it is yours. It is meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you were to meet younger Phyllis today, what advice would you give her?
Perseverance. If perseverance is the best way to reach any goal, that is the one factor. Perseverance.
If you were to meet younger Sarah today, what advice would you give her?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I did a whole postcard series called A 20-Day Conversation with Your 20-Year-Old Self. I don't know if you knew that. I did that a while back.
No, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, that was a few years back now.
Okay.
Because based on a conversation like this, where my friend said, what would you tell your, or I actually asked my friends, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? I'm now 42, so we're going back a little bit.
You still look 16.
I
mean it.
And what it started with my friend's response, which now I'm forgetting, which was like the first one that I did. But I did these illustrations based on, and they were like basically portraits where the voice bubble was like had a profile, had a face, and it was talking to yourself basically. And I just really delved into it and thought about all the things I would say. So it's interesting because before, when we were talking about the rebellion through art, that would be a big thing. I would tell.
Does it even it's not a linear curve, right?
Yeah.
It's not even, it's not a linear thing. It is, I think it keeps going back. You rediscover yourself and then you fall back into the trap, and then you rediscover yourself and then fall back into your trap.
Yeah.
No.
If you were to meet younger Sophie today, what advice would you give her?
Oh my God, I would tell her to stop worrying and that it's all going to be okay. And that you just got to do what you love doing. Yeah.
If you were to meet younger Alicia today, what advice would you give her?
Don't worry about other people, what they say or think.
Love that. Okay. I love that advice, and I'm going to take that even today. If you were to meet younger Betsy today, what advice would you give her?
Oh, so much. To just not be so worried about what other people think. That's it. In general, it's like you think about that with your art, and then you think about that with everything, the way you present yourself throughout the day, and just like I see it in other people, and I try not to judge people, and I just, if they judge me, then who cares?
So yes, this has been such an amazing experience to share this journey with you, to listen to all these inspiring women. And I just want to again say a big thank you and a very happy new year to each one of you. I want to remind you that all of this wouldn't have been possible if you wouldn't have supported us, if you wouldn't have clicked that follow button, if you wouldn't have listened to these episodes, if you wouldn't have encouraged me and just show up. I mean, your showing up has made so much of difference, and I promise to keep showing up for all of you. And believe me, 2022 will be so much better, bigger and exciting for all of us, and we're going to do so many amazing things together, I promise. I want to say a big thank you again, and I'm sending you a big hug, and I will see you in the new year. And before I go, I also want to say, if you really want to show your support at the end of this year, you know what? A review on any platform, a follow button or subscribe button on any platform you listen your podcast would make so much of a difference for us. So please, once you listen to this episode, I would be so grateful if you can go to Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you listen your podcast, and leave us a review, because it not only helps us grow the show, but it also really means so much to me, because whenever I feel let down or confused or discouraged, that's where I go. Yes, again, thank you so much. I wish you a very happy new year. Take the rest, have lots of sweets and cookies, and I'll see you on 3rd of January, New Year. Yes, 3rd of January 2022. I am so excited to be getting into the new year with you, and I promise I am going to bring you so many exciting new things for this year. I'll see you soon. Mwah. Bye.